And a pleasant good evening from Kauffman Stadium. You can see the stadium lights behind me, and when they dim tonight, they will dim for the final time in the 2024 season as this remarkable run for the Kansas City Royals has come to an end in the American League Division Series. The Royals fall tonight to the New York Yankees by a 3-1 score, and they lose this best-of-5 American League Division Series by that same count, 3-1. I am Dan Lucero. You can probably not, but in the distance behind me are the New York Yankees celebrating, posing for pictures behind the mound here at the K as they advance to the League Championship Series. They will play either Detroit or Cleveland. They're going to a Game 5 in Cleveland. That will be on Saturday night. And the reason that they're moving on and the Royals are not is because it wasn't by much, but the Yankees were the better team in this series, and the better team is moving on. The margins were thin. Like we talked about on last night's reaction video, the margins were thin throughout this series. The final run differential in the series, Yankees +2. Both of those runs for them essentially coming tonight in their 2-run victory. That's how close all of these games were. You had a 1-run win by the Yankees in Game 1, a 2-run Royals win in Game 2, the 1-run Yankee win last night, and a 2-run win here tonight. Close games. That means there's not much between these two teams, and it really didn't feel like there was throughout the series, but the Yankees were better. Their best players were better. Their lineup depth was better. Their starting pitching, especially tonight, Gerrit Cole, what a wonderful outing, was better. Their base running was better. They were better in the field. They were better with runners in scoring position, and they were better out of the bullpen where they did not allow a run in this series. They were just better, not by a lot, but they were just better, and that's why the Yankees are moving on, well-deserved, to the League Championship Series. It's a great team. It's a great team, and their great players came up big in these two games here at Kauffman Stadium, whether it was Giancarlo Stanton, both last night and tonight, driving in a third run in the sixth that proved to be valuable insurance. Aaron Judge finally appeared in the series with an extra base hit. Got that rally started in the sixth with a double off of Lucas Erceg. Gleyber Torres, 2 big hits in this game with a run scored and an RBI as well. That supporting cast, the guys like Stanton and Torres, those guys showed up for the Yankees when Soto and Judge were lagging. That was not the case for the Royals. The final numbers for their best guys, I said it all year long on 580 Sports Talk. For the Royals, the big dogs have got to eat. And they did not eat in this series. Bobby Witt Jr., Vinny Pasquantino, Salvador Perez, a combined 6 for 49 with 2 runs batted in. One of them tonight, Vinny Pasquantino's RBI double in the 6th inning, but the Royals did not have enough lineup depth to survive a series where they get that little from their best guys. And we saw it tonight that there was just not much else going on in the order aside from a 3-hit night from Tommy Pham, who continues his career-long mastery of Gerrit Cole. Nothing else really going on for the Royals offensively, both tonight and in this series. Other thing the Royals didn't get in this series, depth from their starters. They did not get a starting pitcher through the 5th inning, even once in these 4 games. That has been their strength. That had been really one of this team's superpowers throughout the season. It's what got them to 86 wins in a playoff spot this year was the excellence of their starters and their ability to turn a lineup over and get through a lineup 3 times and set the table so you didn't need to see as much of the middle relief of this team. And it didn't happen even one time in this series. Game 1, walk out in the 5th inning. Game 2, Reagan's out after 4. Last night, Seth Lugo didn't make it through the 5th. And tonight, Michael Wacha, 4 2/3 innings, allowed 2 runs on 6 hits. Should he have come out a batter earlier? It's easy to manage with hindsight, right? And I saw a lot of people on Twitter who didn't like Matt Quatrero going to Lucas Erceg there in the 5th inning of the game with the big bats coming up for the Yankees. But I loved the move. I thought it was exactly the right move for Matt Quatrero to go to his best reliever against the Yankees' best hitter in a game where you knew runs were going to be hard to come by and you couldn't fall much further behind than you already had. You had to go to your best guy. The only problem is maybe Cotrero waited one batter too long to press that button, because with 2 out and 2 on, Gleyber Torres singled off of Waka. That made it 2-0, and that felt like a much bigger lead given how well Garrett Cole was throwing the ball tonight for the Yankees. Would have liked to have seen Urseg for the top of that order. Don't let anybody see Waka a third time after they'd gotten pretty good swings off of him the first 2 times in the order. Instead, Urseg came on and got Soto out, but Urseg had his struggles too. At the end of the day, though, you can live with it if it's your best guy. And if he doesn't have it, then your best guy doesn't have it. If your best guys don't come up in the big spots, then they don't come up in the big spots, but at least you got to your best guys. You didn't sit around and wait, and then you're down 3-1 and you lose, and you never got to use your best reliever. That's the alternative. So I think Cotrero managed it right. I just wish he had been a little quicker on the draw to go Waka and bring Urseg in that 5th inning. He was right to do it. I really thought he was right to do it. Could not disagree more with some of the comments I saw on social media about Cotrero's bullpen usage. I thought he nailed it with Urseg in that spot. Just maybe should have been one batter earlier. Royals didn't get much offensively. As I mentioned, Garrett Cole was really, really good. They did get a run in the 6th past Quintino's double scoring Witt after a tete-a-tete at second base between Anthony Volpe and Michael Garcia. Watched the play live, watched plenty of replays. I don't think either Garcia or Volpe did anything wrong. This was hardly Hal McRae taking out Willie Randolph at the knees in the 1977 ALCS. What it seemed like, and what the radio broadcast seemed to confirm, was that the person who took exception was this series' antagonist, Jazz Chisholm. And it was him lifting off from third base that got the attention of Michael Garcia, which in turn caused the benches and the bullpens to clear. I'm sure Royals fans will not remember Jazz Chisholm fondly, and he will not get a very kind reception whenever it is he comes back to Kauffman Stadium. He should have seen his way out of what was pretty clearly an A and B conversation between Garcia and Volpe. But as Christopher points out in the YouTube live comments, and I want to thank all of you who are hanging out watching this live on YouTube, 580 Sports Talk, or on Facebook, WIBW News. It's nice to see that hatred again, right? Nice to see it feel like a little bit of a rivalry, like there's some tension between the Yankees and the Royals. That felt good. That felt familiar. And I really, really enjoyed that. So the season is over for the Royals, and time will tell what 2024 turns out to be. It seems as though this front office is very much aimed at maximizing what will be the long and enjoyable prime years of Bobby Witt Jr. And they got to 86 wins from 56 last year just by deciding, hey, what if we went out and spent some money and tried to be good instead of waiting, instead of twiddling our thumbs? The Royals knew they didn't have enough depth in their farm system to rescue them this year, and probably aren't going to have enough depth in their farm system to rescue them for a couple of years. It's going to take some time for them to build up the organizational depth that they're going to require. But in the short term, you can add that organizational depth if you're aggressive in free agency, if you're aggressive in the trade market, and if you identify the right guys for your team and for your clubhouse. That's what the Royals front office did this year, building this team. So I see there's a little back and forth going on in the YouTube live comments. I'm not going to put them all up on the screen, but I think there's a point to be made. Yes, the Royals have to build up their farm system, 100%. They have to get better. They have to start bringing a pipeline of young and cost-controlled talent up to the major leagues. But they added successfully on the margins to this year's team. And next year, most of these important guys are under contract. Seth Lugo and Michael Wacha will be back. Of course, the young cornerstones of this team, Bobby Witt Jr. and Cole Reagans and Lucas Urseg will be back for another year. There is a foundation in place. Now, the easy way to add to that, bringing guys up through the minor leagues, the cheap way to add to that, that's not really an option for the Royals unless Jack Caglione is ready sooner than anybody expects, and maybe he's the opening day right fielder next year. I don't know. But the Royals are going to have to once again open up the checkbook because they were clearly a bat short, probably a bullpen arm short, and yes, they're going to have to stockpile a little bit more starting pitching depth because chances are they won't be so fortunate to have the sort of health in the pitching rotation that they did this year. But the track record now is very promising for J.J. Piccolo and his front office and Matt Cotrero and his time as manager And John Sherman and his time as the owner, the track record is positive that they'll go out and they'll take care of some business and they'll add to this team and make savvy decisions, not just blow their money all over the place after players who won't work. This year, not every dime was spent correctly, of course. You didn't get a lot out of Chris Stratton and Will Smith, for instance, but the signings that did work really worked. And a lot of those guys, again, Lugo, Waka, those guys are going to be back next year. Renfro probably too. I believe he has a player option as well. So Royals would be nice to have him back as a veteran bat in the outfield as well. But there'll be time enough to figure out what the Royals are going to need for the future. Let's take one last moment to enjoy what we just had. A remarkable season out of nowhere, out of absolutely nowhere. 106 losses last year to 86 wins in the playoffs this year, and a playoff series win, and playoff baseball back at Kauffman Stadium. And none of this was promised, and none of this was expected when camp broke back in March. And yet, this is what we got. We got ourselves a fun summer of baseball at Kauffman Stadium, a fun summer of Royals baseball. And I want to thank each and every one of you for hanging out and talking about it with us. And for those who enjoyed these YouTube instant reactions during the playoffs, we appreciate you hanging out with us as well. Again, 580 Sports Talk is a YouTube channel. Subscribe today. If you have not, throw us a like and a subscribe. You can also find us on Facebook, WIBW News. We'll recap this game on tomorrow's edition of 580 Sports Talk. We'll be live from 3 to 6. We'll have a full recap and a bit of post-mortem as we look back on the season that was. One more time from Kauffman Stadium. The Royals fall to the Yankees tonight, 3-1. The series ends 3-1 in the Yankees' favor. The Yankees are moving on, and this remarkable Royals season is over. I'm Dan Lucero, bidding you good night from the Truman Sports Complex in Kauffman Stadium. We'll talk to you tomorrow on 580 Sports Talk.